Well, someone's getting fired. Damn, Xbox. What the F? You want to buy Nintendo again? Did you not learn the last time you tried this and got laughed out of the room? You also seem to have something against physical games based on your new console refreshes, which you originally said you had no plans for, by the way. I mean, one look at searching Xbox on YouTube and a lot of recent videos have been really calling you out for this. And on top of all of this, the biggest piece of evidence from all of this is that this shows you want a monopoly. I mean, everything in the past has also shown that, but this is ridiculous. There's so much to cover and what could be called the biggest gaming leak in history, and that is not clickbait. Like, please, if I'm wrong, please tell me, but I cannot think of another time when there have been this big of leaks when it comes to anything in the gaming industry. So we got to get straight into it. Hi everyone, Tallen here with Direct Gaming, and if you enjoyed everything gaming, news, discussions, guides, and more, make sure to hit the like button and let us know down in the comments below on your thoughts on everything here with all of these leaks. Also, if you feel like it, a sub to the channel would be greatly appreciated. It allows us to make more of these videos, and it's free. All right, let's get started. I think after this entire document leak, this should show everybody why companies like to keep things really close to the chest so that they can either spin things a certain way or make sure news and announcements are said in a very specific way. We have learned a lot about not only what Xbox has planned for the next 8 to 10 years, but also what their plans mean for things like physical games, acquiring even more companies and studios, and what it's like to see them behind the curtain. In fact, this table here was pretty cool to see, showing us kind of Xbox's original starting out, what features they have currently right now, and what we can expect going forward into the future. Looking at this picture on screen, it's laid out pretty well that they started with consoles and PC as a focus, while slowly moving up to things like smart TVs, cloud gaming, and more. It's a simple way to look at the past while also trying to plan out stuff for the future. Makes a pretty good presentation and can easily be used by any company. Heck, one thing I was surprised to see was something like a mobile controller, a one-handed controller, and even a handheld? Damn, Xbox is going bold. It's gonna say that right now. Now, obviously, not all of these are confirmed, and a lot of these could be in alpha stages, and if the plug is pulled, then they simply are not made. Looking at you, handheld, for example, because getting into the handheld area, that's not exactly easy. I mean, ask Sony and everybody else. Nintendo's had a grip on that for decades. So we're gonna go over all the big stuff. Obviously can't cover all of the leaks and everything like that, but I wanna cover the big stuff. Then I'm gonna give my personal opinion on everything, because while some stuff is actually pretty cool and seeing all the different competition and everything like that, there is some stuff that I'm personally a little concerned about. And I'm not the only one. Like, everyone online, like a majority of people that I've been seeing when it comes to these posts are like, this particular information, yeah, cool, awesome, all for it, cool, let's move forward. And then there's other stuff going like, Xbox, what the F? Just why? Why are you doing this? So let's get into it right now. First up has to be the new router. Sorry, console, the console refresh. I mean, come on, if this pick is the final design, then all gamers are about to get another router in their house. Now, if you've paid attention to the actual court cases with Microsoft versus the FTC and just news updates in general, Xbox up until now has said that they have no plans for a mid-season console refresh. This is the opposite of Sony making an upgrade to the PS5. At least that's what all the rumors are saying right now. And obviously both Sony and Xbox did this in the previous generation with the PS4 and the Xbox One. No secret there, everyone knows about this. This refresh for the X, mind you, will include more internal storage, 2 terabytes, which is actually pretty awesome, faster Wi-Fi, reduced power, a better controller, and just a simple redesign again. We're all getting a nice new router for our home. Nothing new here in terms of the refresh, but still, it's nice to see the specs. And what's even better is they're keeping it at the $500 price point. That is, of course, assuming that nothing worse happens when it comes to the whole world economy right now. The one thing that fans are not happy about, though, with this redesign of the X is there's no disk drive, meaning that you have to have the game digitally only. I'm going to give my personal opinions about this at the end, like I said beforehand, but this has probably caused one of the biggest backlashes in terms of all of this news and information that's come out online, at least. Just like the X is getting a refresh, the S is also getting a refresh. Internal storage is going to be increased to up to 1 terabyte, which is always really nice. Same upgrades, including Wi-Fi and less power being used, is always pretty cool. And it's keeping that nice $300 price point. Nothing on the outside is really screaming big changes or anything, so I'm guessing that's pretty much it. I don't know how much internal stuff has changed in terms of any CPU cores or anything, but hopefully it can be a little bit of a jump, because the S has definitely been a sting to some developers when it comes to making certain games and certain features being included in there. Included with the 2 new refreshes of the console is actually going to include a new controller, actually. And some of these pictures that you might be seeing across the internet and also in this video and everything are showing you that Xbox wants to have like 3 different controllers. So looking at like a base model, kind of a mid model, and then like, the elite model that, only the true gamers buy and everything like that, which 9 times out of 10, most people are not going to buy it. But regardless, having a lot of different controller options is, I guess, always a nice thing. Of course, it always depends on the price, though. You can bet your bottom dollar, though, they will include batteries. Along with all these mid-gen consoles and accessories, there is also some goals and plans that have been laid out. You can actually see on screen right now some of the leaks that we just covered. For example, they mentioned increasing the storage on the consoles, which they are going to be doing based on the pictures that we saw. More leaks also show plans leading up to 2030, and some of those mid goals will coincide with the plans covered on these pictures, showing their plans for everything into the near future. One thing I noticed on a lot of these slides is something called player needs. This is weird, however, when you see them trying to go all digital. Again, I will get my own personal thoughts on this later, but a lot of gamers are not liking this. Physical games allow us to not only preserve games, but also allow us to download the games from the disc onto the console without the need of internet, which I know sounds crazy in a day like 2023, but there are still lots of areas where internet is very slow, they only have one provider, or they just simply don't have it. And yes, that even includes the US. The last thing revealed in terms of hardware is actually the next-gen console, which we knew a little bit about from the original FTC versus Microsoft court case. This is looking to have an AMD Zen 6 CPU with a balance of big and small cores, whatever the heck that's supposed to mean. I know what it technically means in PC terms, but in terms of this little picture right here, I'm not exactly sure what they're trying to say. An AMD Navi 5 for the GPU, ARM design for performance and efficiency, neural processing units, next-gen ray tracing, and upscaling, of course. All of this looks to release around 2028. This is similar to what both Sony and Xbox have done for the last 2 gens, AMD-based CPUs and GPUs, at about around the same performance, give or take. The interesting line that caught my eye, though, was this line right here. Hybrid game platform capable of leveraging the combined power of the client and the cloud to deliver deeper immersion. Now, it's no secret Xbox has been going for this type of entertainment setup compared to just simply a console. I mean, their own future plans, as shown with these pictures, shows smart TVs, Play Anywhere, the Kinect, which thankfully isn't really a thing anymore, and so on. However, the note of focusing more on the cloud than ever in this slide, particularly right here, has me a little worried with the next-gen consoles, especially if it doesn't have a disk drive. I mean, the refresh of the X is not going to have one, so I could definitely see a possible future where Xbox doesn't include it in their next-gen console in 2028, regardless of when that actually does release. Meaning that all of your discs that you have bought potentially will not work on these new consoles unless you keep the older consoles, which I know obviously maybe a lot of people might keep something like, let's just say we call it the Xbox Y, and you keep the Xbox Series X here, for example. However, what happens in 2 generations down the line, or 3 generations, or even 4 generations? A lot of those consoles are either going to break, people are going to sell them, people are going to move, forget about them, and next thing you know, you found this old game that you really want to play, but you can't play it on here because there's no disk drive. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. All right, let's move away from hardware and let's talk about some of these emails and such, because there's some juicy information in here. As we saw with the court cases, emails are always going to say one thing and then people under oath are going to say another. It's no secret, obviously, that also things will change as time goes on. Someone might say something in an email back in 2020, but then 2021 comes around, they're like, oh crap, I actually was wrong about this, and so on and so forth. Regardless of whatever side you're on when it comes to the consoles and everything, that's just a simple fact right there. One example of this actually is Phil back in 2020 saying that he thinks Xbox is beating the PS5 in both specs and games. And for part of that, he actually is 100% correct. Specs-wise, the Xbox Series X is stronger than the PS5. Not by much, but by technically speaking, it is in terms of RAM and CPU and GPU and everything like that. As for games, I'll let you decide that on your own. I personally will say no, but moving on. One interesting piece of information that I found particularly interesting was the cost of games to go onto Game Pass day one. So we're mostly looking at third-party games here. Keep in mind, not all of these prices on screen right now actually mean that the deal went through and that the games ended up on Game Pass. For example, Jedi Survivor was not on Game Pass day one because obviously that deal fell through. But it's pretty expensive to try and get these games on there. In fact, look at GTA. They wanted that much money per month. That is a lot of money right there. I mean, don't get me wrong. I get it. Rockstar makes a ton of money from that game, so I get it. But damn, that is still asking for a lot of money right there. We've actually said many times on this channel that Game Pass is amazing for things like indie games and AA games, but not so much for the AAA games, at least on release. It's all about money and how much you're making, right? That's why you don't see a lot of those AAA games from third-party studios on day one Game Pass. Not at first you won't, but then eventually you might see it later down the road, especially if they want to try and get a bump in sales, potentially before maybe the next game comes out or something. Other things I'm not going to cover too much, but that we simply saw from some other emails were things like Phil Spencer talking about game studio closures, confirming things like Elder Scrolls is not going to be on PlayStation and only Xbox and PC. I mean, to me personally, this was pretty obvious. You don't buy the company and not make it exclusive. Even though, again, Phil back in during the FTC court case and everything was saying, we haven't decided yet, and there's a lot of factors we have to first look at. I honestly just laughed at this. You bought Bethesda. Why would you put your game on a competitor's console? Call of Duty is different. We've already established that, hence why that's basically going to be the only game, once this whole thing is done and over with, that will stay on PlayStation, and everything else, not so much. One of the other leaks also showed that they are trying to somehow get Xbox Cloud Gaming / Game Pass on PlayStation, but through its web browser somehow. I'm not exactly sure how that would even go down, but that's a bold and interesting move to say the least. We actually got to see a lot of the games that they have in development right now and kind of their release schedule. Now, obviously with games and release schedules, take it with a grain of salt, but some of the big games that were shown are, there's a new Doom in development, Dishonored 3, an Oblivion either remake or remaster, not 100% sure on that, a Red Dead Redemption 2 remaster, and a Fallout 3 remaster. Now, that's obviously a lot of games and a lot of nostalgia for certain ages of gamers right there. So we'll have to wait and see how those turn out, but I'm definitely excited about a few of those. To finish up some of these leaks, there's also some stuff that we saw in terms of their goals going up to 2030. One of the big goals being that they want to try and hit 100 million members for Game Pass. I think currently right now they're at 20 or 30 million. I'm not 100% sure on that, but hitting 100 million, you got a ways to go on that one, especially because a lot of people are saying you've kind of hit that ceiling already. I'm not really sure. We'll have to wait and see what their game plan is going forward. I don't know if the price increases on not just Game Pass, but other subscription services are going to make people drop yours more. It's kind of hard to say. We'll have to wait and see. Other goals that they have, though, which I personally do like, are focusing on consoles, which is nice. But one thing I don't like is them focusing on more of the digital library. But another part that's cool is some of the customization. We don't know what customization means. Just simply, there's some customization. We'll have to wait and see exactly what's going to happen there. And as stated literally right beforehand is the giant schedule of all those extra games coming out, or at least planned for right now. I mean, there's even a plan for Ghost Tokyo 2 and everything. So we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen there. The first game didn't particularly sell as well, but hey, we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen with the second one. All right, there we go. I think I got everything. I don't think I missed anything huge or any... Oh, wait! There was one more thing. Nintendo. Phil. Bro. Seriously? What the heck were you thinking? / are thinking? Take a look at this email for a second. Phil back in 2020 was in talks again about potentially acquiring Nintendo, because that just worked so great the last time. I mean, it wasn't like you guys were laughed out of the room or anything. FYI, I know Phil wasn't there during that time, but regardless, come on. look, I might as well start my personal opinions right here with this whole thing. I'm all for Xbox having things like mid-console refreshes, exclusive games, everyone in the industry does, get over it, console war people, plans for the future, and so on. That's all cool stuff. I'm actually all for it. But acquiring Nintendo, I don't care if it's just an email and they don't even act on it in the end. They have acquisition on the brain, and it just proves they want everything in a monopoly. Even though they said in court that wasn't their plan, actions are speaking louder than words. Xbox, I don't think you officially have any creative juices left in terms of making games. Their plan is just literally buy. Which, look, I get. Companies buy other smaller companies for exclusives. It's been going on for years. It's part of the competition, and I've accepted that. But this is just, it's Nintendo. Heck, I've been someone who thinks that the whole buying of Activision is still not the greatest thing, especially because it leads towards this monopoly, which again, Microsoft has been known for in other areas of the tech industry. If this doesn't prove it, I don't know what is. I know some people are going to defend this left and right, but seriously, this better not go through. All right, moving away from the Nintendo facepalm here, the console refresh is nice, along with the next controller and games that they have planned going forward. Again, personally see nothing wrong with this. Exclusive, non-exclusive, whatever it is, I'm all for it. People are going to love all these different types of games. Definitely for it. Bumping up the storage on both the X and the S refreshes as well is something I personally really like. 1 terabyte I still think is a little small for the S, but I get it. It's mostly meant as a beginner console to kind of bring people into the console space. So I get 1 terabyte being pretty good. Keep in mind though, it's not actually 1 terabyte. It's more like, 880 or whatever it is, because again, some space has to be on there for the operating system of the console. It's the same with the Switch. It's the same with the PlayStation, same with Xbox. The Series X, however, though, having 2 terabytes, that is extremely nice. Now we just need games to actually start getting compressed so that they actually don't take up much space, because otherwise that 2 terabytes goes away like that. As I stated before, however, and a lot of people are online as well, the lack of a disk drive, though, is more proof to me that Phil/Xbox does not actually care about preserving games. They say one thing, but again, actions are speaking louder than words. And now with the next console set for 2028, I could see sales being hurt quite a bit if they don't include a disk drive. I know a lot of people are going to say it's the digital age, we're all going digital everywhere we go, but there are upsides to the physical discs, cartridges, whatever is sold, still being around to this day. If you don't have internet, if a game gets discontinued, you can only play those games now through that way. There have been games over the years that have been lost that we can't play anymore because they just are discontinued and there's either no disc or they're just not up on a shop or anything. It is much easier for people to take games down from a shop than it is for a disc to not exist anymore that you have. So that's why discs are still very, very important. I could go on and on, but this video would then turn out to be hours and hours, and there's more information that will most likely drop over the next coming days. We at Direct Gaming will do our best to keep you up to date on everything that we can. But now we want to turn to you. What are your thoughts on all of these leaks? Do you like the information you got to see? Do you think it's a good move for Xbox in the industry? Do you think it's bad? Let us know all your thoughts down below in the comments. Also, if you enjoyed the video, then a like and a comment would be much appreciated. It helps us out a ton. Plus, again, it's all free. With all that being said, my name is Tallen. Thanks for stopping by Direct Gaming, and I hope to see everybody in the next video. We'll see what the future is going to hold. Johnny.